The sun had just begun to set over the vast Masai Mara, casting a golden glow across the savannah. Kimo, a young Maasai warrior, stood at the edge of his village, his spear firmly gripped in his hand. Tonight, he would take part in his first night hunt, a rite of passage that every young warrior eagerly anticipated. But Kimo was different. He was haunted by a recurring dream, one where a lioness with fierce amber eyes stood before him, as if challenging him. He had never spoken of this dream to anyone, fearing it was a sign of weakness. As the night fell, Kimo and the other warriors set out into the darkness, their senses heightened, every rustle of the grass catching their attention. The air was thick with the scent of impending rain, a rare but welcomed blessing in the dry season. The men spread out, forming a circle as they prepared to corner their prey. But as they moved deeper into the bush, Kimo felt something shift in the air, a presence watching them. Suddenly, a piercing roar echoed through the night, sending a shiver down Kimo's spine. The other warriors too froze in their tracks. The sound was close, too close. Before anyone could react, a large lioness sprang from the underbush, her powerful muscles rippling as she pounced towards the men. Chaos erupted as the warriors scrambled to defend themselves. But the lioness was swift, her movements precise. In the confusion, Kimo was knocked to the ground, his spear flying out of reach. When he looked up, the lioness was standing over him, her amber eyes locked with his. Time seemed to freeze. Instead of attacking, she hesitated, and in the split second, Kimo saw something in her gaze. Recognition, perhaps even sorrow. The lioness sneered but did not attack. Instead, she turned and bounded back into the night, leaving Kimo lying in the dirt, his heart racing. Kimo's world has changed in that instant. The other warriors spoke in hushed tones about the encounter, some claiming the lioness was a demon sent to test them, others insisting she was a guardian spirit. But Kimo knew there was something more. He felt drawn to the lioness, as if their fates were intertwined. Over the next few days, Kimo began venturing out into the savannah alone, seeking out the lioness. His instincts told him to stay away, but something deeper urged him forward. He followed the tracks she left in the dirt, the occasional paw prints that hinted at her presence. Each day he drew closer, until one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he found her. She was laying in a patch of tall grass, her side heaving with labored breath. Kimo approached cautiously, his spear at the ready, but as he drew near, he noticed the gash across her flank, a deep wound that was clearly infected. The lioness lifted her head and growled, but her strength was failing. Kimo hesitated only a moment before leaning beside her. He knew the dangers of what he was about to do, but he couldn't turn away. Kimo began tending to the lioness's wound, using the knowledge passed down from his elders to cleanse and bind it. All the while, the lioness watched him, her eyes never leaving his. She could have easily killed him, but she didn't. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a fragile trust that neither could explain. Days turned into weeks as Kimo cared for the lioness, sneaking away from the village whenever he could. The lioness, whom he named Nelani, grew stronger, and soon she was able to walk and even hunt small game. But the bond between them was deeper than survival. They became inseparable, each protecting the other in ways neither had expected. But the savannah was an unforgiving place. Peace was fleeting. One evening, as Kimo and Nelani were resting by a stream, the distant sound of drums echoed across the plains. Kimo's heart sank. Those were not the celebratory drums of his village. They were war drums. Another tribe had crossed into their territory, and battle was imminent. Kimo raced back to his village, Nelani following close behind. When he arrived, he found his people preparing for the fight. His father, the village chief, handed him a spear, his expression grim. "Tonight we defend our land, our people," his father said. As the warrior assembled, Kimo could feel Denali's presence just behind the firelight, watching. The night grew darker, and soon the enemy tribe appeared on the horizon, their torches casting an ominous glow. The two sides clashed, the air thick with the sound of battle. In the midst of the chaos, Kimo fought with everything he had, but the enemy was relentless. Just as he was about to be overpowered, a familiar roar split the night. Denali charged into the fray, her powerful form scattering the enemy warriors. She fought alongside Kimo, their movements in sync, as if they had trained for this moment all their lives. But as the battle raged on, Kimo realized that they were outnumbered. The enemy pressed closer, and despite Denali's ferocity, they were being pushed back. Kimo's father fell, wounded, and Kimo felt a surge of rage and despair. He couldn't lose his family, his home. He turned to Denali, their eyes meeting one last time. With a roar, Kimo and Denali launched themselves at the enemy, fighting with a fury that seemed to come from the very earth beneath their feet. And as the dawn broke over the savannah, the enemy tribe retreated, defeated. The village was saved, but at a great cost. Many warriors had fallen, and Kimo himself was badly injured. As he lay on the ground, his vision faded. He felt Denali's warm breath on his face. She nursed him gently, her amber eyes full of concern. With the last of his strength, Kimo reached out and touched her fur, a silent promise passing between them. When Kimo awoke, he was in his family's hut, his wounds bandaged. His mother sat behind him, her eyes red from tears. "Nelani," he asked, his weak voice. His mother nodded towards the doorway. Kimo struggled to sit up, and there, just beyond the entrance, was Nelani, her silhouette bathed in the morning light. She had saved him just as he had saved her. As the days passed, the village began to rebuild, and Kimo was hailed as a hero. But he knew that the true hero was Nelani, the lioness who had become more than just a wild animal. She was his friend, his protector, his other half. And though the savannah was still a place of danger, Kimo and Nelani continued to roam it together, their bond unbreakable. They were a warrior and a lioness united by fate, and together they would face whatever challenges the wild would throw at them. The end.